Hello, everyone. This is Bishop Harry Jackson. I'm calling you and talking to you today about what we should do under these circumstances, quarantines, in a manner of speaking, and the coronavirus. First of all, I want to take you to number 16. And coronavirus comes from a word that means crown. Some people believe that it's a crown of deity for the sun god. I'm not so sure where the derivation of the name comes from, but it's interesting that the last three plagues in Egypt, when Israel was about to come out, all had to do with attacking the power, if you would, of the sun god. Well, I believe number 16 also shows us a situation where a plague comes out of the presence of God because of the rebellion and the backbiting and the rejection of God ordained authority. So I believe that under that type of situation, and we know that this kind of plague, sickness, and disease is not meant for the children of God. We have been called to have the children's bread, healing, protection, and the presence of God. So, for a few minutes, I want to talk to you about what we can do in this time of challenge. I'm going to start with the spiritual answer. I'm going to move to natural answers of next steps. And I believe you're going to see by the time we end these 3 minutes that God has worked out a plan for us to be strong, to be whole. In number 16, verse 45, after Korah, Dathan, and Abiram have spoken out against Moses, Korah was Moses' cousin. He knew much about Moses, and you can find all that if you do research. And then, as they're praying repeatedly, Moses did the following. He laid down on his face before God. And that prostration signified his humility, signified the fact that he didn't know what to do. And each time he fell on his face, God moved. Each time he humbled himself, God moved. The same kind of thing happens in 2 Corinthians 12 when Paul says, when I'm weak, I'm strong. He simply said that whenever he's in a difficulty, when he considered himself weak, dependent, and needy, the glory of God tabernacled or covered him over. It's sort of a Psalm 91 blessing. So verse 45 reads, get you up from among ye this congregation, that I may consume them as in a moment. And so there you have Moses and Aaron running to get to a place of incense and censers before God. And in verse 47, the direction came from Moses for Aaron to go out, and in verse 48, stand between the dead and the living. And this speaks of intercession. Well, first, humility, intercession, praise, and calling on the name of the Lord. God has God-ordained authorities who can release power into our lives. There are certain people, the church in our generation is designated by God to be someone who releases power. Think about it this way. Isaiah 56 said, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. If you do a word study of that, Isaiah 56 says, the underlying Hebrew says, my house shall be a place of singing intercession or singing judgments. And the idea is when we're gathered together as a spiritual authority under God, praying in His name, praising in His name, singing declarations of His blessing over our land, God will stop plagues, stop problems, stop darkness from advancing. So first, we need to worship in our homes. We need to worship in faith that God is moving on our behalf. That's the first thing. Second, we should obey the authorities of our land when He tells us we should not be gathering in certain numbers, or there should be certain kinds of separation and space. We should obey. And third, we should reach out, ask God to show us vulnerable people that we can help in His name, that we can serve in His name. If we'll do that, God will stop the deaths and plagues among others. He will use us to release help for our family, our friends, and people who are coming to Christ. And then our light will shine so that the glory of God is seen. During this coronavirus season, we're going to see the beginning of the greatest revival America and the world have ever known. Expect that. And let's wait to see what God will do. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. God bless you.